The applause of men is the worst drug there is, in my opinion. Yeah. So I learned that, okay, I kind of like that those fans knew my name. And I'm sorry, I like that. Protect me.
And then you're playing bass for Dylan, right?
Yeah, I play bass.
So that's even more impressive there.
You're right.
I didn't know the bass player's name.
Well, I said one. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't 1,000. It was like one person.
I was trying to still help you out here.
And I told Mom she couldn't come to any more shows. I did not like that. But I've had more gospel sharing conversations, counseling, healing conversations in the green rooms of bars than I've ever had at my church. And I go to an incredible church. That's not a knock on the church. I'm just saying, if you'll go just be light wherever you are, God will open the door because people see light. When they're in a dark place.
Welcome to episode 134 of the NRT Now Podcast. I'm your host, Jake. And if this is your first time with us, just want to say welcome. Or if you've been hanging out with us for a while, just want to say welcome back. If you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed, following, whatever that looks like on your favorite podcast platform, so you know when new episodes come out. So we are thrilled to have one of our next big thing episodes here. And our guest for this episode is Cline. And I had to say that with a drawl. You'll understand why here in a minute. Hopefully they won't hate me for that. But no, it's so awesome to be able to do these next big thing episodes. And we talk way too much about this here in the episode. But these guys are, and gal, sorry, Jack, are in a season of transition. They've been well established in the music industry on the country mainstream side over there. And they're looking to make this change, just start a new season into the CCM space here. And this is just the beginning. So I am so excited to introduce you to Cline, so here we go. We're here with Cline. It was a while ago that we put out on Instagram, who do we want to have on the podcast next? Who do you guys want to have? And I'm pretty sure one of y'all was like going, me. Wait, it was just like, how about us? But I'm putting my own interpretation on this here. But we're here finally. It is so good to have you guys on a podcast here.
Thank you so much. We're excited. Like I told you before, we listen to the podcast pretty regularly.
We are from Kentucky.
So there's, you might have to do some interpretation once this thing gets out west, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, we love New Release Today and what you guys do to support both artists we all know and just how you champion new artists, independent artists, new songs. I think it's an awesome ministry, and we've been really happy to get to know Kevin and you, Jake, and just excited for the opportunity.
So I love doing these next big thing episodes because in years past, some of our We Love award-winning artists for the next big thing categories have come through the podcast here, and I've gotten to share those stories. So it's always fun to see those that I've met and introduced with these next big thing episodes come to win some of these awards and just see what they've done. Like one guy that we've had on a podcast, he's nominated this year, but Sean B is now out on Winter Jam, and just watching him just absolutely tear it up on stage, having met him and shared some of his story here. It's just really fun for me to see and just champion the ministry that up and coming artists have. Yeah. And with that, I think we need to hit pause for just a quick second and have you guys introduce yourselves. We introduce you as Cline, but there's three of you guys and three different voices here. So can you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Jack Cline.
I'm Garrett.
Coming over here with the most country voice, it's Darrick Cline, also last name Cline.
Yeah, so Cline isn't, unfortunately, a very cool band name. It's just our name. There's a little more to that we can get into later, but Jack and I have been married for almost 12 years. Darrick and I have been brothers for
30
years. He's slightly younger than me, aging ourselves a little bit there. But yeah, we've grown up doing music. My dad was a full-time musician right up until Darrick was born, and then gave his life to Christ and had to kind of remove himself from the scene he was in. And the way he says it is, God saved him and gave him a new dream. His dream was for himself. And when these two little boys came along, God gave him a new dream, and part of the Cline name and legacy and and all of that, that's a piece of that story, is what our dad sacrificed for us to grow up in a Christian home, for us to have a good foundation. For the past almost 10 years, Darrick and I have been out on the road with a country artist named Dylan Scott. The foundation that we had from our dad, from our church, ultimately in Jesus, has kept us, on the rails, in a very, I don't necessarily like the word secular, but you know what I mean? It's not it's a mainstream environment, it's the real world that we all live in. And Jacquelyn, in the same regard, both of her parents were singers.
They sang together, led worship at church, Christian home, the whole thing.
Yeah. So she grew up in Georgia. We all ended up in Kentucky at the same church, and her dad passed away when she was really young, and her mom could have moved back to Georgia. For whatever reason. God led her to stay where she was, and here we are 20 years later.
Met in youth worship band.
Yep.
So there's your good old Christian book story right there.
So we broke, we did break some rules. Jacquelyn's a year older than me, and the youth worship band, when we started out, I think we were all around 13. Well, Jack and I were around 13, 14. Darrick was like 6 playing up in the high school room, so like.
You could barely see it over the drums. Yeah.
It just was what it was, So we've felt called to music, and we've had different assignments along the way. It's like how I'd like to say it, calling is, something I think can only come from God, and I think there are worship leaders that are called that have all kinds of jobs. The way God provides your income is sometimes different than your calling as far as what you do with your gifts. And we've been really fortunate. We just have had a really supportive church. We're all on staff at our church. Darrick and I have been assigned to Dylan Scott and have gotten to experience a lot of cool things through working with him, and, number 1 singles and platinum records and touring and all of that stuff. And to kind of wrap up this part of the story, when COVID hit, we felt like God was shifting our assignment a little bit. I personally had a total freak out, meltdown.
A little.
Jacquelyn's trying not to shake her head off over here.
Yeah, if you're not seeing the video side of it, Jacquelyn is just.
Yeah. So I was kind of flipping out. And then we have a song that you've heard that nobody's heard, so don't spill the guts, called One More Time. And it hasn't come out yet. So I don't know, maybe soon. But, we had this I had kind of had this audible moment with God. We had received a financial blessing that we were not expecting. God just kind of said to me, hey man, how many times am I going to calm the storm before you trust me? And I haven't had many of these moments with God, but I was very honest with him. And I said, one more time, God, I need you to calm it one more time. And that's kind of how we've lived our lives. We're learning to trust him, right? Like we all do. But that COVID season morphed into us really feeling like, hey, God has rebirthed this dream and mission to write songs for God's people.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah, we had
just a little bit of time.
So we had met some people, and some people that were very, very kind to us and booked rights for us for no reason. Jonathan Mason and Trevor Mathewson over at Curb Word. We knew them through working with Dylan, and that's how we met them. So we just started going at it. And the first phone call we made when we decided we wanted to co-write was Mo Pitney, who's on the song Worthy One with us. We can talk about later, but Worthy One, the song coming out, was the first song we co-wrote in COVID. But a lot of other things happened during that, and very life-shifting. And Jacquelyn's kind of been holding it down at home.
I've been assigned here to our church here, and to raising 2 boys here,
Oof.
So trying to keep dreaming of what I know God's called us to while I'm waiting as they go and kind of, I guess, pave the way for us to do this as Cline.
That's quite the assignment there. 2 kids.
It's not always easy. I think yesterday I was told, it sounds so simple, but it is not easy. And it sounds simple. You're at home with the kids and you're momming and working, but it is not easy.
And that's still going on, by the way.
Yeah.
We're not trying to act like this part of our life is over. Like
we're still
grinding out on the road, working with Dylan, and just working as hard as we can on music. We we feel like God's given us some songs he wants people to hear, and we're trusting that that's going to work out. But it's been a crazy road, the past few years. And we talk a lot about Joshua 4 when they crossed the Red Sea and God told the people, hey, go set up 12 stones on the riverbank, just as a memorial to say that look what God has done.
Yeah.
And we really feel like these songs, what God brought our family through that season. It's a stone.
Yeah.
We'll always have sitting there on the riverbank, Sorry, I get a little emotional talking about that. that got me shook up a little bit. But there's nothing better than God's faithfulness, And sorry. Woo. But when we reflect on that, this is what happens. It's tough, man. It's crazy. So to be here today, getting to tell our story, it's just like another stone. Like, hey man, look what I did. You guys thought life was over, and look at all that's been birthed out of that pain.
So we're Cline.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it, man.
We're Cline.
If you could, pre-save worthy one.
Yeah. Man, that episode was done record
we
time.
write songs and tour and cry a lot.
We're kind of at that weird spot where COVID is still a thing as far as like we're just kind of coming out of that season. Like there's still a lot of stuff, but it's also almost so far away as well. Just all the stuff that's happened. And I mean, I know you guys aren't alone. There's so much that has happened with all of it. Like I know COVID was a huge shift for me, being locked down, everything that happened that year. We're just kind of in this weird transition phase where the effects of all that are just now starting to bear fruit. I love to see it where the season has gone into producing more fruit than destruction. Yeah. And I know you guys have been on the road with Dylan, and you guys are still going to be out on the road with Dylan until you guys decide not to. But, the fact that it's produced fruit and not just stuck in, oh crap, what do I do now? How are we going to survive?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty impressive when those hard seasons and those times where you don't think you're going to make it through, or whatever that looks like, turns into fruit instead of just staying in that valley.
Yeah.
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 Everything that Garrett said is true. And I actually went through a divorce during 2020. I was married for 7 years and wife left, and kind of the same thing. You go through all these moments in life and you're like, where's God? Does he even care about me? I've believed this thing about God my entire life. Things that we ask, and it's okay to ask God those hard questions when we go through stuff. I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but just like divorce, losing our jobs, dealing with depression, Jack had their second baby during this whole thing, all this stuff, and talking about the fruit. I just got remarried to this amazing woman. And it's so cool how God, it's just what you said. I couldn't have said it better. It's just the fruit of deciding at that moment of getting divorced is you can either stay narrow and walk that path, or you can go, you know what? I'm going to live earthly. I'm just going to go out and raise hell and do whatever the world tells me to do, because that's what they tell us to do. When something bad happens, go make yourself feel good.
You have an excuse.
You have an excuse. And so that was just beautiful how you said that, because that's part of my story, our story. And then my sub story in that is like, man, the fruitfulness is I'm married to this beautiful woman that God obviously had a plan for us to be together my whole life, and had to go through that hurting moment to get to that. And I just want to tell in, like, it's hard to write songs that connect with people unless you go through some hard stuff in life, Yep. And I'm sure every artist that you've ever talked to has some story about a monumental moment that this man crushed them. The good ones do, because God does that to people that he trusts his words with. Man, we just had like all this stuff happen, all at once. And we wouldn't have been able to write those songs if God wouldn't have led us through the season that he led us through. So that's also the fruit. I'm just going to keep on saying it. That was just so cool how you said that, because that's why we're sitting here talking to you today. This is fruit from that season.
Yeah, there's fruit in the pain.
Yeah.
Tony Wood always says, he's a great songwriter. He's become a good friend of ours. He always says that nobody's off limits from a songwriter. So you're probably going to hear Fruit and Pain or something like that stolen from you at some point. I'll give you credit when it comes up.
Hey, if that's the mark I leave, I'm okay with that.
That's a good word. That's a good word.
I guess we should pause here for a quick minute and just say, hey, there's so much more coming than the song that's just being released here. It's still a lot of TBD. You've done a 1-song deal with Curb Word Records for this song coming out, but there's still a lot of journey left, not only with the songs that are coming out, but just where you navigate and where you're going through as you start entering the CCM space here.
Yeah. I wish we had more answers because it would sound cooler, but we have lived our whole life on the principle of our yes is on the table. That's the way Darrick and I have always lived. That's why we were taught to live. Fortunately, that's how Jacquelyn was taught to live. Her dad was a dreamer. Her dad knew, hey, you can do these things, and then unfortunately he had an untimely death, but we all three connect on our yes is on the table. When it came up to like, hey, it's time again, like we need to reinvest in writing and just see what happens. We didn't have a plan for this song to come out on February 3rd. We could not have formulated this plan. So we're in a very real, non-cliche way. We are trusting God. We trust God that you gave us these songs for people. They're for us. They're for our church. They're for the greater church of America and the world. And God, help us to know the right way to go about this, the right people to partner with. And we've been really fortunate. A lot of really amazing people have come alongside of us because, it's no secret, there are people that aren't missional minded out there too, but God has paved the way. God has brought people alongside of us. And so we're just kind of let's find the right partners and figure out how this music's going to come out. And the first step of that is we were given this opportunity to release this song with Mo, who we wrote Worthy One with. And he's the artist there at Curb. And so there's a lot of familial ties there. This is how this one's coming out. We have almost a whole record done, and we have no idea how or when it's coming out.
It is coming at some point.
It's going to come out. Yeah. It's not going to sit in the cloud forever.
I'm hoping that this release of Worthy One will kind of be the catapult to releasing everything,
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but we definitely have some things in the work,
Yeah. We have some ideas, and then like God does, he goes, well, yeah, I understand that's your plan, but here's my plan.
Yep, that's cute. Let's see how the song's actually going to work.
Yeah. But that's kind of where we're at. Let's see what happens. Yes is on the table.
It's even funny with Worthy One, to tie it back in our story. We wrote that the week I got divorced.
Yeah.
And so it's been a long time, and we've actually attempted to independently plan to put that out and work with some independent marketers and stuff like that. And then God kept on this, something wouldn't work out. And I was like, okay, it's just not that time, to the point where we got to partner with Curb Word on it. I think that's a pretty clear.
We call them holy speed bumps.
Yeah, holy speed bumps. So we're just kind of waiting and praying. And it's like what they both said. Record deals are cool, but that's not a big deal to us. We're looking for partners they're missionaries in the music industry. Mm-hmm. And so we need them to understand our vision. And it's great. You can put an amazing song out. If nobody hears it, that did no good for anybody. We want the most people to be able to hear these songs because we feel like that's what God's made them for. He gave them to us. He could have given them to anybody. They're not really our songs. They're his songs. That's where we're at. Yeah. So if anybody wants, my phone number is 901.
Oh, dear. Well, as we start transitioning to some of the Dylan Scott conversation, you guys are from Kentucky. You opened the door for needing an interpreter. I need the best redneck dictionary, the best Kentucky phrase that you won't hear anywhere else in the country.
It's probably inappropriate for podcasts. So,
I'll tell you my favorite line, because this will tie in Kentucky and Georgia. Because I don't want to leave Jacquelyn out. I mean, she's been in Kentucky longer than she was in Georgia, but there is something about them Georgia songwriters. I don't know. There's some kind of weird thing. We did a show with Luke Bryan this past weekend, and he's got everybody's a Georgia boy. So I don't know if she's somehow drank that water or what. But my favorite line, it's actually from Scotty Wilbanks, who was in Third Day, but he plays keys for Luke now. Scotty always says, "Ain't nobody gonna like it but the people." Pretty much about anything he works on. I don't know if it's just him thing, but we've adopted that, and it's been a pretty steady thing, even in some church staff meetings. Sometimes I'll just be like, "Hey, we're going to do that because ain't nobody gonna like it but the people." So that's my favorite one. Do you have another one?
I just want to see like going to Starbucks in Los Angeles, and I say Darrick, and they're like, "What?" So I mean, like, yeah. Darrick. I'm like, no, like Darrick, and they're like, "You're saying Rick, or you're saying dare me to do what?" I wish I had a good one, but is this challenging to say my name?
Well, they have a hard time anyway, and then you add that, like that's just rude.
That's where we're at.
That's the funny thing about country music. It seems like the Christian music is kind of the same way as far as touring goes. It's like one day you're playing the Staples Center in LA.
Well, it's crypto
or whatever it is. It was a Staples Center. That's always what it's going to be to me. Okay. I'll take that to my grave. And then the next day you're in literally the middle of nowhere. They don't even have a Subway, Missouri. But
like
those
Subway,
people get
like
us.
Sandwich shop, not a train.
Those people get us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't know. Ain't nobody going to like it but the people. It's my favorite one.
But y'all is pretty well used around here.
That's another, and it's kind of shocking.
They used to make fun of me because I said y'all all the time, and now I think they've just gotten used to it.
Now y'all say it.
It's just a part of our language.
Yeah.
And they do say it. So.
Yeah.
We haven't tried real hard at non-regional diction. I don't know. This is kind of, I like to say it's part of us trying to be authentic, I guess. I don't know.
You're talking about being in country music. One of the things that I've really drawn a distinction for me personally is you have Christian music and then you have Christians in music. And you have people like Tori Kelly. There's more than one mission field than just Christian music. You guys are out with Dylan Scott. It's country, which country also is a little bit more, I don't know if I want to say allowing of Christianity.
It's a lot of really faith-forward writing and artists.
A little bit more so than like your rock and your pop and all that kind of stuff, just demographic-wise. What have you guys seen being Christians in music, in these spaces, playing in bars, playing in some places that are not necessarily where a Christian would go, like that's not your first thought to go. What has that life been like being on the road with Dylan?
I'll tell you, it's been very refining, I think for me is a good word. We are really fortunate to be a part of a church that is a very evangelistic, would be a kind of a Christianese way to say it, I guess, but a very reach out kind of church. They've always been very supportive of us going and doing those things, where I have other Christian friends in the country genre that have been shamed for going and touring in country music. For me, the refining part has been twofold. One, I found out my foundation was real. Like I wasn't shaken by the typical things that are available to you.
I was going to say the access to.
You have access. The access to sin is there. Like, let's not act like it's not. You can get anything you want for free. They roll the red carpet out for you. The worst access to something sinful there is the applause of man. People clap for you and yell for you, and they roll out the carpet for you, and they open the door for you, and all the venue owners and promoters are happy you're there because you're making them money. And the applause of man is the worst drug there is, in my opinion. Yeah. So I learned that, okay, hey, God, I kind of like that those fans knew my name. I kind of like that, and I'm sorry, I like that. Protect me.
And then you're playing bass for Dylan, right?
Yeah, I play bass.
So that's even more impressive there.
You're right.
I didn't know the bass player's name.
Well, I said one. It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't 1,000. It was like one person.
I was trying to still help you out here.
And I told mom she couldn't come to any more shows. I did not like that. But I've had more gospel sharing conversations, counseling, healing conversations in the green rooms of bars than I've ever had at my church. And I go to an incredible church. That's not a knock on the church. I'm just saying, if you'll go just be light wherever you are, God will open the door, because people see light. when they're in a dark place, there's been, this is a little bit confidential, but we've come across people who have left Christian music, both artists and touring people, to go to country because they thought, oh, now I'm going to make it. And they've found themselves in a really dark place. They've either been hurt by the church, they felt shame because of sin in their life, they've been pushed out of the church because they chose to not do quote unquote Christian music. And I don't think music can get saved, but that's another podcast. And so we're running into them in the green room, and we actually have a platform because we aren't Christian musicians. We're not, I don't know, we're working for Dylan Scott. We do a song every night called Beer Buddies. It is what it is, Luckily, almost all of our crew of people are Christians. They follow Jesus. Several of them are very straight.
I mean, it's not like this in all camps, but there's this
it's a very straight and narrow kind of thing. And so we've had the opportunity to really minister to people, whether it's a security guard or it's the runner that day, or it's someone who used to work for a Christian artist and got hurt real bad, because sometimes Christian artists are people too, and you got to remind, hey, we don't follow an artist. We don't follow a preacher. We don't follow a record label. We follow Jesus. It's less about the genre we work in and more about God has transformed us from the inside out. And we want that light to shine, whether we're leading worship at a youth camp or we're leading worship at our home church, or we're playing a show with Dylan. We do actually strive to be the same light in all those places.
I wanted to add to that, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but church people and people who go to the bar, they're pretty much the same people. They're looking to worship something and they're looking to fill a void. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why it's been so easy. And even when Jack will come out and hang out too, to talk to folks, is because, man, people roll up in our church and don't have a relationship with Christ. And people roll up to the venue of the bar to see Dylan Scott, don't have a relationship with Christ. And the same conversations are had. And so it's kind of cool going back to this. We love our church here. It's because of our leadership and the DNA of our church, is that it's really not that much different to talk to the guy that's walking into the bar that night and go, man, what's going on? What's up? What's your story? The same as, noticing somebody you haven't seen around church and go, dude, what's your story? Or, what's going on? I don't say that to knock on church people. I'm just saying
we're church people.
We're church people. We are it. But I think, and this is also not a promotion for, hey, church people,
go to the bar
on Saturday nights. But man, I feel like people can really legalize it and go, man, bad people go to the bar. Actually, bad people go to church also. None of us are good. I don't know. I just think kind of like Garrett, to back what Garrett was saying, man, it's just, we were set up to succeed in having conversations with folks.
Yeah, we had a really cool upbringing. We have awesome parents and really great pastors, and the support is what has kept our foundation on the road. And we have brothers, like we have the people on our bus care about us. If I brought a female on the bus, you would not ever see me again. Like, I would be dead. And it would be Jacquelyn. It would be my other brothers. You know what I mean? There's something to that camaraderie and what's the word I'm trying to say? There's something to that. Accountability, I guess is what I was trying to say. But it's been funny because people do actually pay attention to your life. Like, they pay attention to you, who you actually are. On our fall tour, we were walking across the street to Wendy's or something. We were walking back and somebody in line yells, "Garrett, is your wife here?" But I'm like, how do they know who my wife? I love y'all's music. I love her voice. And I'm like, ooh, I'm not a different person on the road with Dylan. Or I can't be. I'm not saying I'm not. I'm saying I can't be, because they're seeing how I talk and how I act in relation to, they're following Jacquelyn on Instagram and TikTok. And it's like, wow, you really have to be the same person wherever you are. And I think that's where most people get in the most trouble, especially in the music business. If you're a different person on stage than you are in the green room, than you are at the meet and greet, than you are at the restaurant, than you are at home, that eventually catches up to you. And I'm not saying we've done perfect at all. I had to ask Jacquelyn for forgiveness this morning. well, I didn't ask, she called me out, and then I eventually had to say, I'm sorry. But it's like, there's a realness to that. Like, you got to be who you are everywhere.
You got to be
and that's something
authentic.
I can't say that for myself, but I know Darrick and Jacquelyn have done that over a long season. As Eugene Peterson said, the long obedience. They have been that way since I've met both of them. That's the difference when you get out in that other environment, you know.
So what are some of the things that you've taken from your time with Dylan into what's happening with Cline? Both stylistically, your approach?
Well, I want to start with number one, our producer, who we consider our fourth member of the band, Kurt Gibbs. We would have never known him if it wasn't for Dylan. He produced Dylan, co-produced Dylan for a while, and had success with him, and just relationally and logistically with him. That's something we have
I'll never forget
taken
it.
away.
We were sitting on the bus. I had gone to a show, just to be with the guys. And this tall guy comes on the bus. Hey, I'm Kurt. And I've heard about Kurt from Garrett. And he had told me previously, we're going to work with him. He was like, I don't know what it looks like and what it means, but I know we're supposed to work together. And I told Kurt that like 5 years later, when we did our first project together, I was like, there's been something all over this for a long time. But yeah, Kurt is.
Yeah, I would say that's an actual tangible. That's actually something we took away.
Well, one really practical thing we've learned is the type of people you do and don't want to work with, the type of people you do and don't want representing you, and how to tour.
Well, and the type of people you want to be and don't want to be.
I tell people that all the time. Like, we're all in our 30s now. Darrick just crossed over.
Yeah.
We're not 18-year-olds just with a dream and a backpack and trying to take on hell with a water pistol. It's like, we've got.
Can we go back to the same?
I'm with you there, Darrick.
I have to be number one now.
So it's like we went from ground zero with Dylan. We learned how to tour in a van. Then we went to a Sprinter van. Then we got to the bus thing. Now there's a pretty nice production. We know people that know how to do those things that we really want to do as a part of what we do as Cline. And we kind of know how to do that now. I'm not saying we've got it all figured out, but we at least know the people that know. And that's been a really big deal. And learning how to record. We got thrown in the fire. Dylan brought us in, which is unheard of, especially in the country genre. Dylan brought me, Darrick, and his brother Logan in to play on his first record. And My Girl, Nobody, Hooked, all platinum selling songs, we played on that first record. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. Kurt was producing with a guy named Matt Allerman, who's now a hit songwriter, and a guy named Jim Ed Norman, who is on tour with the Eagles. I don't know if you ever heard of them. You know what I'm saying?
Familiar.
He wrote the composing for Desperado. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of guy that's in the room. And so here, composition. So here, Darrick and I are trying to go.
Pretty proud that I do it.
Yeah, we sat down and like, okay, here's your first master session. Here comes Jim Ed Norman. And we're like, what do we do? We owe a lot to Dylan, his team, those people, for us just getting to figure out how to do it with him. We just all of us went in together and figured it out. And that's been a blessing to be on now releasing music of our own. We kind of know how to be efficient. We don't have a big budget. We don't have a lot of money. So efficiency really matters when it comes to recording. And this isn't just Darrick and I. Jacquelyn has been in studios and working with pro musicians and been doing stuff longer than we have, or as long as we have since we were kids. So it all kind of came together, circling back to Kurt being probably the most amazing piece that we've gained from working with Dylan. We all know how each other work. We've been approached by other producers that have done big stuff. It's like, we kind of got our thing going. We know what we like. We know what we feel. We know the hearts of the people we work with.
Mission-minded. That's everything to us.
So when we showed up to the studio to do kind of our first tracking section as Cline, we knew what to do. We weren't just coming out of high school figuring it out. Like, we knew what to do. We were able to be efficient. We got to our end goal fast. So those are all things that have just been things we would have never known.
Yeah.
Never been able to learn, never would have had access to. It's just, there's an education there that's irreplaceable.
Yeah. Wouldn't know where all the Buc-ee's are.
Yeah.
Stop. You know what? I want to retract my statement. That may be number one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in Texas. I know all about Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is amazing.
Yes.
If you have not experienced a Buc-ee's, you haven't lived life yet.
You need to. Which barbecue sandwich do you get? Do you do the pulled pork? Do you do the chopped brisket?
You got to do chopped brisket.
Okay, good. I like you. I thought that's what's going to be you got the answer right. Good job.
I think that's a good way to start landing here on the music itself. Now, listening to the stuff that's coming out, it's a lot different than what you guys released last year in 2021. Actually threw me for a little bit of a loop because I was expecting one thing, and then in a good way, don't get me wrong, Jack's looking at me like, what the heck is this? Like, why am I doing this?
Seriously, did you have us on this podcast just to drill us?
Absolutely. Actually, I love both sides of it, but what is going into this new album? What's going into this new songs? What is the heart behind what we're hearing and the sound that we're hearing come out?
I'll get it started. That's the best thing about having a band with 3 people. And not only a band with 3 people, all siblings, is like if one of us starts it, we're like, oh, yeah, now I got something to say. I love synthesizers. I used to own like Junos, Roland Junos and stuff, like 80s synthesizers and stuff. Anchor's really in that world. The best way, I think, to describe the evolution, it's so funny. We've been just really working hard on this for 3 years now. There's already an evolution. In 3 more years, it may be like, dude, what are y'all doing with the banjo? Like, but Anchor, so we didn't collab on that. Us 3 and actually one of our pastors wrote that song.
Refuge came out of COVID. We wrote Anchor before COVID hit.
Yeah, but we worked on that. That's what I was saying. We worked on Anchor during COVID, but we didn't collaborate. Kurt Gibbs produced it. We just did it, us 3, and then our really good friend Josue Mesa, who like tracks all the key stuff on our records. And so it just kind of came out like that. And then I think Refuge got a little more like full bandy, but still pretty synth heavy. This over time, really quickly, I think our sounds matured. We've been able to get in spaces where we have a little more of the budget to have a big room and track drums in and have some of our favorite musicians track stuff on it. I think we just got more picky. And so I think that's kind of the evolution has been, we didn't really have the time, space, or budget to collab. And then as stuff has progressed, we've been able to collab more and more and more with different musicians. And because like nobody's going to know, but Hearing Coming sounds like a country song to me. I love it because it's like, we like country music, most of it. And so that came out. A song like Anchor sounds like Michael Jackson if he was saved to me. I love that because I love Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
Jacquelyn loves Michael Jackson.
We've been influenced so extremely by all of the music cultures. And so to have one sound just sounds kind of crazy to me because there is so many influences and respects that we have learned. And now we're putting out there with our own taste to it.
Yeah, to both of their points, I like what Darrick said about collaborating. After we released Anchor and Refuge is when we started co-writing.
Yeah.
And most of I might get myself in trouble for this. So, hey, everybody, don't cancel the rights you have on the books for this, for me saying this. But our favorite people so far to write with have been Tony Wood and Michael Farron. If you don't know who Tony is, just Google that and let your mind explode and then try to figure out why he answers my phone call. But when we started collaborating with them, it really went from production first and then write some lyrics to
song first.
Let's write a song. Yeah. And then let the production come around.
That's a great point.
You would build the songs and you would write to the song.
Yeah, that is true. That's
it's a more really country genre way of writing versus the first music would come out was really more of a pop way of writing. And then also with that, almost like subconsciously, I don't know if we ever even talked about it, but we really feel called to write songs that the church can sing.
Yeah.
We want to tour. We would love to be on Winter Jam. I hope we follow your prophetic path, Jake. We love awards and Winter Jam, but also like, especially with the Song Worthy one that's coming out, our hope is that song is easy for churches to sing and play. We want to create music that encourages people to play that song. I think about like the early Stephen Curtis Chapman songs that I learned. That was the first Christian music I ever had my hands on outside of Southern gospel. I was like, wow, Christian music has guitar, like it rocks, and it was Stephen Curtis Chapman. And so I was learning how to play songs. Now, Stephen Curtis does not put stuff on the bottom shelf. Like he's a top shelf artist, right? I'm not saying we need to just like make everything quote unquote easy to play. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying accessible to play. I'm not saying our keyboard player can't play a cool riff so that me, who's not a good keyboard player, can learn how to play the song. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want people to be able to grab a guitar, walk into church, be able to play that song and make it their own. Where we've headed towards song first, lyric first, then production really lends itself toward that kind of headspace.
I've not processed that until now.
I haven't either. So thanks, Jake.
Like we go into, or I know, and you lighthearted, but I go into write and I say, God, I'm asking that you will give me the lyrics you want your people to sing to you. God gives us the lyrics, and then we build this song based off of what God gives us. Mm-hmm. And so really the formula is, it's around that. What has God given us? And let's work with that and see what comes from that.
And that's something we've learned from Tony. Tony is a lyricist. Like, I hope that, in 20 years, he'll say I'm a songwriter. That's my goal in life. Because right now I'm just a song admirer, I think. But, guys like Tony and Michael, who they have worked on those songwriting muscles for so long. They're able to take Darrick and Jack and I's raw materials and help us write a song that really makes people go, oh yeah, I felt that too. Thank you for giving me words to say it that way. I don't think there's a better, affirmation of your calling and assignment than when we lead a song at church, or we throw a song up on TikTok that we haven't released, which we do a lot. And people go, I've been there. I felt that. I know that pain. Thanks for that word. We're trying to do that first and let the production go around that. Let the emotion lead the production versus the other way around. Because, man, we love pop music. I love pop music. I love country music. Darrick and I play on records for other artists, and we just love music. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, that's a great question. And I think we're kind of just figuring it out.
I told you I started it. Eventually down the line, we got to a pretty great answer.
Yeah, you can remove all of our, just put
now Garrett. This time Garrett's going to start it, and I'm going to get the sound. Yeah.
Just throw it in reverse.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, guys, just really appreciate just getting to know you guys a little bit more. Just appreciate you spending the time here. And I guess I'm just going to have to be satisfied to see you guys on the road with Dylan until you guys start touring as Cline.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You never know what God's going to do.
We're excited.
We'll be hanging out soon, I'm sure.
You think they'll let Cline play at Billy Bob's?
I would imagine. I don't know.
At a loss for words.
Probably not.
I'm not sure. So Billy Bob's is a location here in Texas in the Fort Worth area. I'm sure every country artist knows Billy Bob's, and it is about as honky tonk as it gets.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have a good answer to how that would be received.
I love it.
Okay with that.
I love that. Well, we may start something. New release today, rents out Billy Bob's, and we do a big Christian show there every year. That sounds like a thing
I think that's prophetic. Write it down. Like I said, we love this podcast. Number one, we love New Release Today, and the opportunity you give people like us who feel like, hey, God's assigned us to writing songs. And so thank you for your part and just helping us tell people, hey, this song's coming out. Because I'm pretty real about the stuff. Like, self-promotion is not my thing. Promoting quote unquote Christian music can feel weird because it's like, we all want Jesus to get the glory. But if we don't tell anybody the song's coming out, nobody's going to hear it.
Yeah.
So thank you you guys just do such a great job in your ministry handling that exact thing. So thank you for letting us be a part of it.
And I mean, you guys helped us out with Anchor, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes,
with nothing. Curb was not backing us or, nothing like
It was
that.
just
So
us.
Yeah. That's really cool.
big thank you.
I appreciate it.
being on the team. Yeah.
Well, I think we could do like thank yous all the way around. Like we'll just do this for another 10 minutes of just thank yous back and forth. No, just like I said, once again, guys, just really appreciate you spending the time here.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Can't wait to do it again.